Hi, I'm Mark, and I want to talk about GitLab and Humanitec as a foundation for effective platform engineering. When we talk to customers or look into the platform engineering market, we often see that a lot of organizations struggle to start their platform initiative or set up their internal developer platform, or they even fail. And we want to talk about why that is and what we think you can do about it. The why is pretty simple. It's complexity. Platform engineering is a really complex discipline with multiple layers of multiple complexity. And the latest state of the report shows the scope of a platform engineering team, which, if you ask me, is a quite long list. It goes from building services that enable app dev teams to build, deploy, and run their apps over access control and managing costs and resources. And when we talk to customers, the list can be much longer. So complexity will overwhelm you. To handle this, really can advise you to start small. And when you want to start small in building an internal development platform, it really helps to strip down the things and draw a system landscape. We draw a system landscape and came out with this, which is basically separating everything from an internal developer platform or things you need to build in an or to focus on an internal developer platform into these five control planes. When you think about what challenges to solve in these control planes, you came up with something like this. You will find some tooling around templates and a portal and some resource management like compute with Kubernetes or something like that. You need to solve secret management, governance and compliance, observability, and for sure, last but not least, the ICD. When you have a GitLab in place, we think Humanitec and GitLab together can be a great fit to start your platform initiative with a focus on real developer self-service autonomy for the developers and also a big focus on security and compliance with the help of GitLab. So we came up with this. This is a reference architecture to start your platform initiative that really helps and strips down the things, make it more simple, and is a selection of a minimal toolset that enables you to build an internal developer platform with focus on self-service and compliance and security as set. So now we want to run through some of these tools we picked here, and we want to start with Score in the developer control plane. Score is a workload specification language, and the workload specification really helps when we see in our customers a lot of projects that have multiple configurations for multiple deployments. So, for example, if you have a local Docker Compose deployment and a remote Kubernetes deployment, you have two configuration files that you have to maintain. And we often see config drifts in here, and it's a thing that Score could solve. We also see that that a lot of platform teams expect developers to be able to handle deployments with Helm or Terraform or Argo CD or Flux. And we often also see that this is not the case, that the developers are able to do this. Rather, they don't have the time or they don't have the knowledge or don't have the time to get deeper into these technologies to run the deployment on their own. And this leads them to let them just open a ticket at operations or the platform team. And so this slows down everybody and does not help. So a really simple specification language that makes specifying deployments easy is a thing that would really help. And this exactly is Score. So, as I already said, um, it solves inconsistencies of configuration files because you have one spec to rule them all. And it also implements a real separation of concern between development and operations. Let's take a look how Score or Score file, what is the name of the file you specify the workload, can look like. It looks like this, and basically from top to the bottom, we will walk through. In the top, we see some network specification. It's basically where the application expose a port. And in the middle of the file, you will find some container specification and the variables, for example, a MySQL password or some Java options in this case. For sure, the password is a variable that is saved in a secret store. We see later where the secret store is. And in the bottom, you will find some resource dependency. In this case, it's a DNS record and a MySQL database. And these MySQL database and the DNS record are capabilities that are provided by the platform team. The developer don't need to know how and where these resources are generated. They just want to consume them and say, hey, my application needs a MySQL database and a DNS record. I want to use the platform capability DNS and DB from type MySQL in this example. So now we have a recipe of how we want to deploy a workload on our platform. And next up in the row of our tool selection is the Humanitec Orchestrator, which basically reads this recipe and creates it dynamically creates an application and infrastructure configuration for every deployment. So this is very important because when generating application and infrastructure configuration for every deployment over and over again, there's no drift between the first and the following deployment. When you think about deploying with Terraform, it always goes up and up and up, and it's all saved in the same state. So there's a major difference. So now let's look on how that works. As we see, we already have the recipe and define our workload with score. And in the bottom, we see that the platform team defines some Terraform modules that can provision resources like the MySQL database or the DNS record. The platform orchestrator now reads this recipe and generates an app configuration, triggers an Terraform run, which creates the infrastructure, and also then deploys the workload into a Kubernetes cluster. With this, you really enable self-service for developers without special knowledge about the Kubernetes or Terraform or something like this. It's really simple, and we did some experiments with developers without knowing much about Kubernetes or Terraform, and they were able to deploy a new application into the platform in about 30 minutes. So I guess that's a good quote for that this really helps. So second tool selection we want to focus on, as you said, that we think that GitLab, which is already maybe in place in your organization, and Humanitec together can be a really good foundation for effective platform engineering, and to focus on the governance and the compliance features of GitLab. We just pick a few of them. There can be a lot more to tell you about this, but according to we don't have much time, we focus on the compliance and the security dashboard. GitLab out of the box provides you some security features, or more or less say it's about the visualization of security scanners. GitLab is based on a lot of scanners that can build you something which you see here in this screenshot, software builds of material or vulnerability lists. And the main benefit in our eyes is that GitLab is able to visualize all this in one tool. So if you already run a GitLab, the step from using all the data that is collected from the CI/CD pipeline and give them to the developers is quite simple, because you have already everything in place. You can do code quality scanning, you can do create an SBOM, you can go and create some vulnerability dashboards, which could look like this. And this gives you a really good overview about security and compliance status. And from this, you can implement security and compliance processes in your software development lifecycle right from the beginning without adding new tools to the chain. So this, in our eyes, speeds up development quite fast, especially building up an internal developer platform quite fast, because as said, there's no need to introduce many new tools, and you really can focus on developer self-service and security and compliance. So basically, that's already it. We can for sure talk about much more about the details of every aspect of these tools, but that's enough for now. I hope this will inspire you to think about building platforms quite lean and start lean, start small. This is an example. I know that there are many other examples around actually, and they're all great. This is our way of starting an internal developer platform with GitLab and Humanitec as a foundation, and hope that will show value of the IDP quickly to your organization. So I'm Mark. Thanks for listening. I'm working for Codecentric. I'm service lead for platform engineering and worked as DevOps consultant before. You can get into contact with me via LinkedIn or via email. Happy to hear from you. Have a good platform con. Bye bye.